I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Andy stole mine. Welcome, everybody. Alrighty, started off here. Any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Yeah, we need to delete under item K, business operations, item number 5. That contract is still being reviewed by our attorney, so once that comes back, we'll get it on the next board agenda.
Doesn't it make a motion for that?
Yeah.
Do I have a motion to remove number 5 from line K?
So moved.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Any other additions or deletions?
Yep.
All right. Public comment on agenda items. I don't have any for tonight. Moving on. Troy Creek Education Foundation Grant Award recipients.
Hello, and thank you for allowing us to meet with you tonight. One of the highlights, well, before I do that, let me introduce my friends here. We are the Tri-Creek Education Board of Directors. This is Dennis Keekly. He's our recording secretary, and Luann Brown. Next to him is our president. Lynn Bohart is our treasurer, and Janice Bruce is the board director as well, and I'm Lynn Haverlin. One of the highlights of our year, each year, is to share our profits, our funds, with creative, dedicated Tri-Creek staff members through our competitive grants program. This year we received 12 applications, and we're happy to fund 8 of those innovative programs. Tri-Creek staff members always impress us with their dedication to their students and their innovative and creative ideas to benefit learning. Our community support continues to be strong. We brought back our Labor Day weekend 5K race this year, and so we were able to fund over $16,000 for those creative programs, and they will engage students at all levels from K through 12. I'll begin introducing grant recipients now. Recipients, will you please come forward when I announce you to receive your packet? Also, give us a brief summary of your project, and we'll ask all of you to stay for a short meeting after the presentations. We'll begin with Ashley Mitch at Lake Prairie. She's getting a grant for $705 for bringing books to life, and she'll be working with Nicole Waddell and Mia Chorus in 2nd grade there.
So Bringing Books to Life is an app that I found. It's called Novel Effect that Mia actually introduced me to. It's an app that each student will have access to, and instead of just the teacher having the license for it, I went ahead and provided license for every single student. And it brings the books actually to life as the kids are reading, but also gives them a digital library to choose from for kids that don't have books at home as well. And the books are constantly updated daily. So just to give you a little example of what this is like. Oops. Pause. So, the cool bean. Watch out, here come the cool beans. The cool beans. Oh yeah, check out how they move. Look at the way they swagger. Notice their sunglasses. So, as you can see, but it literally brings the books to life. So the kids love to read and see how the book interacts with them, but it goes from levels K all the way up. There's chapter books in here, so it meets the kids at each reading level of what they're at and what they're interested in. So they can look and see that there's thousands and thousands of books in this library, and they love to read out loud even to parents and at home and so on. So each kid will have a license, and they can do this at home, at school, and so on.
Right.
Jennifer Bohr from Lowell Middle School. She will receive a grant for $4,628 for Project Lead the Way, 6th grade design and modeling launch, and she'll be working with Jason Renner. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll handle this one.
Yeah, all right.
All right, so we put in a grant to get 4 3D printers because the 2 that we got to absorb from PLTW, as we were using them for our first project, we found out this is not enough to use 2 printers for 240 students. So we put in the grant to get 4 more, and then we're hoping that as we train the 6th graders, then like 7th grade science will be able to use them next year, and then 8th grade, and they'll just continue forward. So that's what we did, and that's what we're working on.
Thank you. And congratulations to Caitlin DeBoer from Three Creeks. She has a grant for $592 for 1st grade animal ambassadors. She'll be sharing that with Lisa Patton, Kate Hazier, and Megan Kristinovsky. And they'll enjoy it. They're not here. We actually did fund this program last year. We typically don't refund repeat programs, but we had a little money left over and they enjoyed it so much last year. The kids learned a lot, so we decided to fund it again. We'll move on then to Jennifer Lisinski from Lake Prairie. Jennifer has a grant for $2,099 for at LP We Glow Creative Minds. She'll share that with her specials team, Stephanie Mears, Amanda Treasure, and Michelle Rousseau.
So we got this idea one day eating lunch, and we saw something on YouTube about a glow-in-the-dark art show that they had, and they had black lights and they had neon art supplies, and we were like, we're gonna do this. And so we decided to write the grant, and we put it in for all kinds of, anything you can think of glow-in-the-dark. So we plan on having an art show glow-in-the-dark, a field day glow-in-the-dark. The STEM teacher is gonna do experiments using neon colors. The music teacher is going to teach the kids disco songs, and we're just planning on having a really fun time. So I would like to thank you guys again for supplying me with all the supplies. We're gonna have a great time. Come back in the spring and come see us. Thank you.
Jennifer's kind of a frequent flyer in the grant program, and we always enjoy seeing what she has to offer. Then we'll move on to Don Favors from Lowell High School, $700 for EV go-karts, and he'll be working with Daryl Hebel and Gary Lemke.
Thank you. It's been quite a year so far with the Red Devil Racing program. We have 2 high voltage electric go-karts that we race at a track that Purdue has at their university. It's primarily used for the colleges, but they actually have an extensive STEM program for the EV go-karts for the high school level. And we raced against 22 different go-karts here just a few weeks ago. And the final results finally came out. We were able to get 5th and 6th place. Not exactly where we wanted to be, but we're getting there. We're learning a lot. We actually race against some teams that have some really professional gear. And so when we show up, we kind of look a little bit like the Cinderella Club, but after we run a few laps, everybody's starting to look at our go-kart to see what kind of setup are they running. Let me see their gear ratio. And so we have to play, some racing tactics to try to hide some of our gear or some distractions. We really don't have much for them to look at, truthfully speaking, because we're just in a learning curve. This was just the 3rd race that I've actually been at. But we've got, up to a dozen kids now, and we're expanding it out. Hopefully we're going to use this for STEM education, not just for the high school, but also by getting Mr. Lemke involved. We're going to bring some of it over towards with the middle school as well. We did take 2 middle school students with us to the race to start to inspire some of the, to expand out the, the program for the interest in that. But the kids have an absolute blast, and everybody starts to hold their breath towards later on in the race. It gets to the point, because it's electric, we don't use high technology lithium batteries. We're still using the old lead acid batteries. So everybody's trying to figure out, are our batteries going to last? Did we save enough? Are we going to go? Because in the last 3 laps, you'll start to see people who really raced hard at the beginning. they all start pulling off to the side because their batteries are dead, and then we keep going. So it's kind of a race of attrition. There's a lot of science behind it besides the strategy of just let's go. But this is going to allow us to race for another year. All right, thank you very much.
Next, we have Lindsay O'Neill from Lowell High School. She has a grant for $6,380 for a Moment in Life English 9 and 9 Honors Photo Journal. She'll be working with Bree Mikovets and Marissa Morris.
Thank you for having us. So about a year ago, I was fortunate enough to go to a literacy conference, thanks to Mr. Deal, at VU, which was facilitated by Kelly Gallagher. And one of the things that he really sort of emphasized was having students write more freely in the classroom and very regularly. So Bree came on a couple of years ago to the English 9 team, and has all these great new fresh ideas, and one of the things that she's been doing with her students is journaling regularly. So we thought about how we could take the idea of regular journaling and sort of make sure that we're still providing meaningful feedback to our students with our different rubrics that we use in class. So we decided to use the Canva program. Our students are going to create, every English 9 student, 9 and 9 honors, are going to create an 8x8 photo book. Every Monday, we give them sort of a prompt or a focus, and they are supposed to capture an image between Monday and Friday. And then they come in on Friday, and we give them some directive about which genre of writing they're doing. We try to cover all of them, informative, persuasive, and even some creative and poetry and some things that Bree has brought to the team in the last couple of years. And by the end of the year, hopefully about May, we'll send those 8x8 photo books to print, and the students will be able to walk away with something from their freshman year, which we believe is obviously a super transitional year for them, and have this artifact to take with that shows their progress in their writing. Yeah.
Dawn Johansson from Lake Prairie has a $1,023 grant for Beyond the Classroom Teamwork Brings Fifth Graders Together. And I don't see her here. None of yours. Please don't take it personally. And our final competitive grant winner is Caitlin Alton from Lowell Middle School, $350 from fidgety to focused. She'll be sharing that with Kirsten Gross and Anna Battistini.
So I'm Caitlin Alton. I'm the 6th grade LRE teacher here at Lowell Middle School. So that means that I work with students with IEPs and accommodations and modifications in order to succeed in their schoolwork. First and foremost, I would like to say thank you for the opportunity to receive this grant. I want to touch base on how I kind of became inspired to apply for this grant. I was sitting in one of my co-taught math classes, and as my co-teacher was going through the lesson, I was watching the students. They were complete wiggle worms. Majority of them were looking around the room, rocking in their seats, playing with their pencils, and so many other distracting things. I met with my team the next morning and explained my dilemma. They informed me of the grant, and I eagerly applied. For those of you that may not be familiar with fidgets, they're tools, not toys. Fidgets provide an external opportunity for students to release physical energy while they are able to focus mentally on their academics. For the students that need a fidget in order to focus, this grant will allow them to do just that, focus.
Well, in addition to our competitive grants, because of a generous request we received a few years ago from the Ruth and Joe Weinberg estate, the foundation is able to use dividend disbursements each year to fund several other projects, and we plan to do that through at least the 2023-24 school year. These have all been embedded in the Tri-Creek culture, and we're happy to support them. They are 5th grade Challenger study groups. We donate $300 for each 5th grade classroom. The LHS mentor program, $5,000. The LMS mentor program, $2,000. The LMS 8th grade trip, also $5,000. We contribute $750 per school, elementary and middle school, for robotics teams. And we fund $750 in scholarships to Kevin Deal's STEM Enrichment and Camp Invention program. So this year we are donating to Tri Creek staff members and students $35,527. So we're excited. And we're happy to support the district in making experiences for our students more meaningful and engaging. So thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we're going to take those recipients out to that table outside the room, if that's okay?
Alrighty, number 2 here, Lowell Middle School Collaborative Project.
So we have 2 guests who are just recipients of the TSEF grant as well. Just to kind of provide some context to our board, you'll recall that we informed you guys of like a really exciting opportunity where we wanted to address an opportunity in our middle school science classes, and that was to ensure that students had opportunities of choice and that there wasn't that culture of have and have nots for some of our elective courses. So beginning this year, each of the previously elective Project Lead the Way modules that students could elect to take in replacement of either like a fine arts or an intervention, we embedded all of those modules plus one into our actual 6th, 7th, and 8th grade classes, dispersed throughout the 3 years that students will be here. So all of our 100% of our science teachers got trained in their designated Project Lead the Way module over the summer, and then worked in the months leading up to the start of the school year to find out where exactly is that going to fit in the scope and sequence as those Project Lead the Way modules align directly with grade level science standards. So I was kind of privy to one of the early lessons and one of the early modules that takes place for our 6th graders, brand new to the middle school. And when I heard about this and got to learn about the proposal, I said, this is something that the board would really love to hear about, because it really takes the essence of project-based learning, hands-on learning, authentic application of what the kids are learning for multiple outcomes for a true, authentic audience, and hits those outcomes as we've always desired. So there's a lot of pride that I kind of say that in their first year, they've already hit the ground running and have a really cool project for you guys to learn more about at the 6th grade level. So I'll turn it over to Ms. Jen Bohr and Mr. Jason Renner, our 6th grade science teachers.
All right, so as Kevin said, we kind of hit the ground running. We had design and modeling, and we went through a very rigorous week of training with it. And one of the things that they had to kind of end the whole unit was a therapy toy design, and it was a very generic one using just fake profiles for kids. And we thought, why not utilize what we have available to us? So we worked with the preschool teacher, Mrs. Chancellor, and we worked with Mrs. English and the physical and occupational therapists that come to our schools to work with the kids, and we got to have our kids go down and observe the preschoolers so they could get an idea of what actually happens in that room and who they're designing for. So they were able to get goals that the kids have, they just didn't know who the child was specifically. So we took all the classes down to just observe for a few minutes, and then when we went back up, we started discussing kind of like, what did you see? What do you have to think about and keep in mind with your designs? And a big one was probably attention span.
Well, I was just gonna say, kind of piggybacking off what Mr. Deal said, there was, this is definitely the most authentic project I've worked on. This is my 5th year here. This is easily the most authentic project that I've worked on. We had the class this summer, and like Jen said, it was kind of a generic lesson or generic project, and right away we looked into it. The light went off. Dang, this is something I think we could do. And we both agreed to it and said, well, we'll have to customize a little bit, but I think we can do it. And then Jen said, hey, we can go down and observe the kids. And right away, when our kids got to go down, there was immediate buy-in. Who's my kid? That became an so, well, can I meet him? Okay, no, we're not doing all that. And then even at the end, when we got done, everyone was saying, well, I want to present my toy to my kid. Well, it doesn't quite work that way, guys. We'll see if they want them, if they can use them, and if they're not sturdy. You know, a lot of them aren't sturdy enough. Like, this is the one that I brought down as a little bit as kind of a funny piece. Everyone thinks it's for cats, but it's not. It actually has a function. But once we had the goals from the kids, and you didn't have to know who was who, then we could set our path, and that's what we did.
Yeah, and we got a lot of different results from the kids, from stuff that they weren't able to finish, and they're like, but I didn't finish. I'm like, that's okay, because now you know, like, for next time if you were to do this again, or what you would do differently. So it was still a learning experience whether or not they completed something for those kids they were working for. And we brought some of the project examples, but that's where they were able to kind of create a design, and then using the Tinkercad from the engineering models that we had, they were printing pieces for the designs that they were making, and they thought, oh, I'm gonna print the entire thing, and we're like, no, there's no time for that. So, but like we had like game boards where the kids were printing like the game pieces, and had to like keep in mind to keep things bigger, and that was something we talked about, like just keep in mind like it can't go in their mouths, and just all kinds of stuff. So we have 2 different groups that we recorded, so you guys can actually hear it from them, kind of like what their process was, what they learned in their research. So we'll show you those videos right now.
Okay. Animal Beach Tower by Isabella Vicky,
Ruby Logan,
Ken Andrews, and Sophia Biancardi. So first of all, we have occupational and physical therapy. Occupational therapy is like dealing with the mental illness, addiction, and stuff like that. And physical therapy is like dealing with the broken bone, any like disabilities that you have with your bones, like this.
when we were observing the preschoolers, we saw they lost interest in what they were doing very much. So we had to make our project to meet our child's goal and make it very entertaining for them.
Our child had a problem where he could not move his arm from one side to the other.
This is called Midnight Crossing.
Our first idea was a puzzle, but then we realized I wanted to meet our child's goal and I wanted to be helpful. This is our design, and the reason why it helps with Midnight Crossing is because the child can move the little beads to whichever side they want, and that can help them reach their hands to the other side of their body.
Some of the criteria we had was time, money, so you can buy anything, and the materials to use.
One thing we definitely learned from this project is it's not about the time, it's more about how you work and how you use your time efficiently. Yeah, it's like about teamwork and like doing everything with each other, and how a lot of people can have these disabilities and a lot of people need these things.
You have to go through several design processes, but at the end of it, we found the right one. What I learned was that problem solving and hard work is a big powerful thing, because somehow we made this very cool project just by working together. That is our project.
Okay. And
I forgot to mention too, during this process, when the kids were designing, we had a friend of mine as a pediatric physical therapist, so she came in a whole day and spent her day off with our classes and going through and looking at all their designs and kind of giving them ideas of like what they could add to it or like how to adjust it so that it was more engaging for the kids too. So we're very grateful to her.
Also my first expert visitor too, so that was, and it was a game changer because kids had ideas and they were good, but then she said, well, have you considered doing, and she was not pushy, she just offered great advice and encouragement, and then there was even more buy-in. And I think they came up with some great products, but the expert was definitely a game changer.
And she had fun because she lives in Lowell, so she said that they were at a block party like the next week, and one of the kids was like, "You were just in my classroom," and she was like, "Hi." Yes, I was. So it made it fun.
Okay, this is one of my super groups here for the 2022 Design and Modeling Toy Therapy Project. First question, B. What did you learn about physical and occupational therapy? Okay. So what goal did your child have for this project?
Like a pen number letter recognition to help memorize all the letters and numbers.
Okay. Was there anything that influenced your design process?
Oh yeah, those little boxes at the doctor's office, they're called busy boxes.
And yours does look quite a bit like a busy box. It's a much prettier one too, by the way. It's great. What design ideas did you guys have? And maybe there were some constraints with money or time that you had to maybe put to the side.
We were going to do pom-poms on our boxes for the design, but they were really wanted to take up on so we do something else. And also, we were going to originally do like 2 pieces of wood together. Time was also a constraint. It was hard because like sometimes we couldn't like figure out what to do, and also near the end of the project, we were trying to like take off all the pom-poms and reglue them, so that was a big constraint.
Okay. Did you have any other ideas or materials besides those that would not work?
At first we thought like duct tape was like a bad idea because we didn't know we were looking for it. We were originally going to put paper on it, even make it colorful, but the duct tape we already had, so we used that instead, and I think it looked really nice. We also did use pom-poms to try to do like the decorations on the side, but they weren't so big, so we could do this stuff.
Okay, let's talk about this project a little bit. Explain your idea and really how it works. How's the kid going to use this?
So the idea is for the number is like they could go for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And when they get to like a higher level scale, they can do 11, 12, 13, like 6, 17, 19, and then to like indicate when they get older also, if they started adding, they could do like 10 plus 10 equals 20. And then this is supposed to feel like feeling, so that maybe in the future it'll be easier to write letters. This also helps like to make it more fun, the whole alphabet, so that they can learn the alphabet.
It's really ingenious, guys. Last question, and I want all of you guys to answer this. What did you learn from this project?
I learned just like with like the kids, like the letter and number memorization, how to like build stuff more better, and what materials work best for projects. I learned that some kids' brains develop different ways, so that causes them to need stuff like this. And I learned that more about what happens to the brain and stuff. I learned like with the engineering process, all the stuff, and like how like the kids will like need physical stuff instead of like just being told to them. Because some kids definitely need like that, like they need like to feel it and not just like have it explained to them. I feel like others in the group might think something is a bad idea, and when you like do take it off and redo it, it looks really good. And also that this like in a week's time you can make something that can help a child so much.
Nice job, guys. Let's get a close-up of that beauty. Let's see the other side here. Great job, guys. I'm really proud of you. Keep up the good work.
I learned I need to quit shouting in everyday conversation, or I need a hearing aid or something. Sorry about that if your hearing gone now.
And that was our project, so there we go. Oh,
Yeah.
Very good, guy. And I just want to kind of like, oh yeah. To the design credit there, when you think about like a lot of the conscious decisions that they kind of breezed by in presenting, because there was so much that went into it, like there's a clear driving question where they were presented with a problem that needed a resolution, right? Like we have these students who have OT, PT needs, how can we best provide that for them, right? And then finding the way in which the standards, the content standards kind of cluster and group together, both that are content-based, and you heard even the students talking about their process standards and the engineering standards, so that they're blended together and not just taught in isolation. Getting the kids to work together and to learn those collaboration skills, which are not always easy, as the sixth graders can show, but like seeing how they learn from each other, and we're willing to say like, well, one idea was not met well, or it didn't turn out well, but we revised and we kind of changed it and we improved upon it. I loved hearing that second group share that. You guys made reference of like bringing in an outside expert or a community partner. That is like, that's a challenge in our rural community where we don't necessarily have as many. But we do in our families and our friends, and there was like a perfect connection that Ms. Moore had that to bring them in and actually draw that connection of there's an active audience that wants to learn more about this. Knowing that you're providing and creating for an authentic audience is huge, because it puts all of a sudden that application into them. It's not I'm just doing this for the sake of a teacher in a grade, but I'm doing this for somebody that actually has a vested interest in it. And I think kind of my favorite is the lesson you said about timeliness, and hearing the kids talk about that, of like knowing that if it doesn't go exactly as you plan, like that mindset shift of it wasn't a failure, it's I've learned from the process and now I can reflect on it and think, what would I do differently? That's like one of the greatest lessons I can tell you, talking from the elementary level up through the high school. We talk about kids who just, when they don't get it right the first time, can go into a sort of shutdown. But going through a collaborative process like this and actually being able to speak reflectively about what they learned when something went well, but almost as importantly what they thought about when something didn't go as planned, when they didn't have the time to it, and how would they do that differently. That fits under that like blanket of agency and those skill sets that are going to benefit them not just in a science classroom, but in classrooms for the rest of their academic career. So big kudos to you guys for like taking a risk yourselves in this module, being the first year that you're going with it and trying to bring in that authentic audience. I loved it. Thought the board might want to know as well that you guys kind of just offhandedly say like, well, yeah, they were printing small things, and sometimes like, so what they're talking about there is they're using the 3D printers. So kids were designing with the computer program, the Tinkercad, which is on their devices, designing the product, sending it to the printer, and it was physically getting printed. And I wanted to make mention of that because their TCEF grant is to get more 3D printers so they can do more projects, have more material, and do even more different things with that. So it's a great connection to hear like how they just kind of got their foot in the door with that, with the 3D printing, and now because of the generosity of TCEF and you guys going for it, you guys can expand that. So thank you guys for coming tonight to present. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Good job. Thank you very much.
Do you want us to just
You
leave
can
it?
leave it and
Oh.
feel free.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I want to look at them. See if I can figure out how to do
Alrighty. Went on E, open up the public hearing for 1028.
There we go. Okay, so we have a project planned for summer of, well, let's be hopeful and say spring of 2023 for our Lake Prairie Elementary. Currently at our Lake Prairie Elementary, we have how many classrooms left for children? Zero. Okay, so we need some more there because we're at
-3, I guess.
right over here. Exactly. So we are in need of an addition over at Lake Prairie because years in 18 and 19, and it is Lake Prairie's turn here in the process. So this is the current footprint of Lake Prairie. You can see up in the upper left-hand side, we've got this nice playground area with a basketball court, and we've got this opportunity for a corner set of classrooms. We went through, or we've been going through an ongoing process, which seems like 15 years, but it's probably 2 or 3 with the pandemic in there, of a facility study in the district. And you can see a wish list off to the left of things that we are in need of at Lake Prairie and would like to see, but the classroom addition is a bubble up of all of this. This is what the classroom addition would look like in full, in totality here. You can see it off to the left with a little bump out of other rooms there. But what we are able to do within the scope of this project, which is a $5.8 million bond, will hopefully give us what our dotted lines are looking at there, with the option to possibly expand the cafeteria or some other alternative items. But what we really want to do is add on 6 classrooms with a corner unit there. So we're looking at 3 classrooms on the top, 3 on the side, and then a corner unit to connect it here. In the future, we can do that bump out that's above there, or if for some reason construction prices go down anytime soon, we might be able to add that on, but we're very hopeful that we can at least get 6 classroom addition in that $5.8 million with some other items. So that is the plan for the money. I think I've got the money guy here to talk about how we're going to fund this. Let me see where that This is Jim Elizondo from Steeple, and he is our financial advisor and helps us with all our bonds here. So, let me do the slideshow. I can't do this. I need new glasses, guys. There we go. Okay.
We can go on to the next slides. It's nice to see everyone this evening. Taking off of where Dana left us, we're talking about a bond issue of $5,815,000, of which, because we have to go to the bond markets, we have something called cost of issuance, which involves attorney's fees, rating fees, underwriting of the bonds, title insurance, things like that. That we estimate to be approximately $145,000. Again, trying to be conservative. Hopefully more money moves to the other side, which would be our estimated project hard and soft costs, which come in under this scenario roughly $5,670,000. That is our budget, as a very preliminary basis for that $5,815,000. Now, here's what we would propose it could look like as far as repayment. What we have here is the dark reddish, brownish, whatever color it turns out to be at the bottom, represents our estimate and our projections of your operations fund. The lighter orange or yellow, which is a very thin bar through there, is the remaining pension bonds. And then the green represents your existing debt service tax rate. So this is our starting point. These are the tax rate based funds that you have as a school corporation. We would propose that $5,815,000 could be paid off in as short as 4 years, maybe up to 6 years. We've tried to push worst case by shortening it to give us our worst case upfront impact. If we need to go slightly longer, that could potentially bring the front end down a little bit. But our estimate there is a one-time increase in your total school corporation rate of approximately 7.2 cents per $100 of assessed value. And that would take your total school rate for 1 year out in 2023 to approximately $1.550. If you go to the next page, there'll be something in your resolutions to consider. Is we do advertise and need to advertise this bond issue as it stands alone, and so that in that case we'd want to show the maximum annual payment that we might expect, and for that we would have maximum annual lease rental payments of up to $5 million, and that works out to be about 15.75 cents per $100 of assessed value. And you'll see I put that arrow on that second year. Under this model, that's where we would project that highest impact to be. Again, we have ability until we sell the bonds to massage that in and around what other plans you might have and needs in the future. But this is our starting point for the hearing. You'll notice that I also highlight that we are currently looking at market interest rates plus 1%, still trying to be conservative. If you watch the news, our rates tend to be fairly volatile as of late and have been climbing, so we're trying to still protect that. And again, I have that out to 6 years, even though I'm showing you 4 years here. If we go to the next slide, I wanted you to see what type of flexibility might be out there following this. It's no secret that you've been doing a needs study for a while, a facility needs study. So with this scenario, we feel like we could fit within your existing debt service, and that bar represents roughly $95 million as just a point where you have room. And then you'll see that the tax rate is projected under our current model to gradually decline after 3 or 4 years. The next slide will show that could be filled in if you have needs with other additional capital needs down the road, or as part of anything you decide to do with your feasibility or your capital needs study. If we go to the next page, since I mentioned the 7 cents, we need to talk about what does that 1 year 7 cents look like as a worst case for taxpayers. And what I've looked at is taking a $100,000 home. For my assumptions, that would be a $100,000 market value home, which in theory is a $100,000 gross assessed value. All of us know our market values don't track exactly to our home value, but this base assumption here is $100,000 market value, $100,000 gross assessment. We then take away all of your homestead exemptions, any mortgage exemptions, those type of things, and that brings us down to what we call the net assessed value. We take that 7 cents, 7.2 cents, times the net assessed value divided by 100, and that gives us our annual tax impact. Now, you have various taxing districts. I lumped all the townships together, and then you have the 3 towns, Cedar Lake, Lowell, and Schneider. There is a slight different impact depending on where you live based on what we call circuit breaker. We've had circuit breaker in the state for a while now, but typically circuit breaker's tied to higher taxing rates, and so to the extent you're in a town, you have more taxing districts stacking on top of each other, which cause that tax rate to be slightly higher. But that 7.2 cents works out to be roughly $2 a month, or $24 per year for that first year in 2023. In the townships, in Cedar Lake and in Lowell, when we get to Schneider, the $100,000 home currently hits circuit breaker. So anything new would not increase that person's tax bill. It would move on to your circuit breaker impact to the school corporation. If we move to the next, I kind of then took a look at the census as to what median home values were. In the townships, we're at 100 and, you know what, why am I squinting when I have it here? There we go. Okay, sorry about that. The townships, the $192,100 is the median value off the 2020 census. That again is the $23.60 or the $1.97 per month. But then as we move to the other 3, at that level, whether it's $188.90 for Cedar Lake, $170,300 for Lowell, or $96,400 for Schneider, all of those median home levels hit circuit breaker. So in that case, next year, that maximum increase that we're estimating would provide no increase to those taxpayers' bill. It would increase your circuit breaker slightly, but then, as you saw in those graphs, The following years, we drop well below where you currently are, so then we would see, in theory, potential reduction or definitely no increase to circuit breaker at that point. Again, the caveat is, you're only a part of circuit breaker. All other taxing districts also have that impact. And that's all I have. Oh, and then I finally at the bottom just show the math. In case you know your net assessed value, you could also simply do the math on your own tax bills and go from there. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
So at this point, we'd ask if there's any public input or public questions.
I would just note, instead of Cedar Lake, it's Cedar Creek.
Cedar Creek. Ah, yeah.
Yes, you're
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
We could send the bill to Cedar Lake.
That's not a bad idea.
Okay, and if there are no other questions or comments, I'm gonna pass the mic to Mr. Thomas Peterson, our bonding attorney.
Mr. President, if you'd like to formally close the public hearing. I was sitting here thinking a hostile takeover of Hanover schools. I kind of made that mistake once in my early years that I didn't change in the building corporation's articles, and I said when they dissolved everything went to Carmel schools, and a farmer told me they get everything. So I'm very careful on those kind of definitions. What you have before you this evening is our 4 resolutions, which are the school's part of setting the financing in motion. Happy to report the building corporation, Lynn and Lynn are 2/3 of that, I guess they're gone already. Approved their part of the transaction. It's the same building corporation you've used for a number of years. And also I'm very pleased to announce that the DLGF did not request further review of your project, so we're clear to go once we get this done, and then we're going to be able to get into the market relatively soon. The 4 resolutions that you have, and Mr. President, it's fine if you want to take them individually or as a group of 4, either way works fine. 1028 resolution is what sets out the basic description of the project and what the anticipated tax impact will be. The second resolution, I guess it's number 11, authorizes the officers to enter into the amendment to lease. As we've discussed before, the school corporation leases property from the building corporation, and the building corporation is the one that actually issues the bonds. You will make your lease rental payments at the same time as when bond payments are due, and they magically match up to be the same number. How that happens, it's amazing. Then the third resolution, number 12, is authorizing the officers and various persons at the school to enter into any agreements and provide any certificates necessary to close the bonds. And the final is an additional appropriation resolution, and that's in here because to spend money on the school level, you have to have an appropriation. The building corporation does not technically have to have one, though there have been times the DLGF has whined and moaned that there wasn't one, and I figured, what's one more resolution among friends? So that's why we adopt this, even though the actual expenses will probably all come through the building corporation's books rather than yours. Important thing to remember, you are still 100% in charge of the project. All items, all contracts, all specs are approved by your board. The building corporation is there as a financing tool only. So it's still 100% your project. So Mr. President, I would recommend approval of all 4 resolutions.
Thank you. All righty, I'm gonna read through them real quick. All right, number 2, approved resolution 2022-10, 1028, project resolutions, Lake Prairie Elementary project. Number 3, approved resolution 2022-11, approved building corporation authorizing execution of amendments to lease agreement. Number 4, approved resolution 2022-12, authorizing officer to execute documents and closing certificates in connection with the insurance of bonds. Number 5, approve resolution 2022-13 and additional appropriations resolution.
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Got another public hearing?
Yes, for teacher bargaining of the medical benefits.
Open up the public hearing for the tentative agreement between the Tri Creek School Corporation and Tri Creek Teachers Organization hearing.
We are just gonna go through all these hearings and get everything done here. So, we did have a reopener in our contract for our teachers union. We had a 2-year contract, but it had 2 stipulations in there, that could be met for a reopener for us to come back to the table to discuss things. The first one was if we had 75 more students enrolled, additional students than we had the previous year, then we would open up to discuss salary. We had 24 additional students year over year, so that didn't reopen our contract. The second reopener was for any increase in our health insurance. That one definitely happened, not as much as other districts, I'm happy to say. 3 years ago, we joined or formed an insurance trust with 3 other districts in order to help stabilize our health insurance. Year over year, we were seeing 8, 10, 12, 14% increases in our health insurance. So we decided to try and gain some strength in numbers, and we brought 4 schools together into an insurance trust, and that has proven to be a great move for us as far as stabilizing our costs and adding additional benefits for our employees in the realm of telemedicine, counseling visits, and clinics that we have that are outside of our insurance policy that help keep our insurance down as well. So this year, our increase for 2023 is a 2% increase. And I say I'm happy about a 2% increase because the average, the norm, I'm hearing 14%, 8% in other districts easily. So I'm really happy with this 2% increase. And so we went back to the table to discuss the increase and how we would apply it. What you see on the screen here is our contract, our teacher's contract that pertains to that portion right here, our health insurance. So there's a table, and the numbers in red there are the numbers that we've agreed as a district to contribute towards the different tiers and different plans that we have. These are based on 94% paid by the corporation for a single plan and 83% for a family plan. The numbers were solid pertaining to last year's premium, so if we would have just added that 2% on, the entire increase would have been on the backs of the employees. So what you see here in red is that we agreed to hold those 94 and 83%, thus splitting the increase on here. The corporation is taking the bulk of the increase versus the employee. The largest increase that an employee will see is $7 a month on a family insurance plan. So we kept it pretty solid and safe. The increase to the school corporation for all employees is over $63,000 that we took out. So not a bad deal here. We made a couple adjustments, minor tweaks after running the language that we had in there through our attorney. She made a couple clarifying items in red there. So what you see in the contract up on screen here are the amounts that we agreed upon and the language that we agreed upon adding in here. And again, the language doesn't change any of the meats and bones of the contract. It only clarifies things a little bit. So whenever you go through these contracts, we mull over every word, and to everyone sitting at the table, it makes sense. And then when you actually go to practice and you look at it, you're like, oh, we meant full-time employee. We left that word out, little things like that. So, any questions from the board? At this time, I'll open it up for a public hearing from public here, if anyone has any questions on the contract regarding the health insurance and the reopening. I will say negotiations took 15 minutes, and that is a record and a bar that we set for next year. So seeing that there's no questions at all, close the public hearing. Next steps will be, we'll bring the contract to the board at the November 10th meeting for ratification. It's already been through the teachers union. I'm happy to say that we ratified on Tuesday. They are ready to roll.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you. Alrighty. Superintendent's report?
Yeah, if you recall, we had a couple that came to this past fall, and they kind of told the story of their family member who had been, who had graduated from Lowell High School, went on, became a math educator, college professor, wrote books, was a researcher, and so if it's the board's pleasure, we'd like to pass around a little memento that we would send this Lowell High School graduate to acknowledge their life service and to express our pride of them being from Tri-Creek School Corporation. If it's the board's pleasure, then we would invite the couple back to a future board meeting and present them with that. That's all.
Well, I was wondering if you had an assignment call there.
Do we have, I know we have like the Hall of Fame, like alumni wall, I think sports related, do we have any academic or anything like that?
We used to have a Hall of Fame inductee program.
We can pass it over to two folks that know all about that outside of the athletics one, if you want to jump into that, because
Well, we used to do it.
And the photos are still up at the high school.
The photos are for the high school, but we have not done it for several years. It got voted down.
Okay.
But there is, it was fun, we did enjoy doing it, and there is, in where it used to be the little theater.
Yeah.
There's the academic hall of fame for the high school.
Okay.
And our pictures are, we come in, is it 13, door 13?
Yep.
Yeah, the teacher that we haven't done for several years.
Okay.
I have no history.
There was a lot of cost involved, and we evaluated the benefits, the actual benefits, as opposed to what we spent on doing it. And we just couldn't justify it, just.
We enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a good project.
Yeah.
This guy should be on our wall somewhere.
I wonder if there's a way that we can figure out how to bring that back at a lower cost or a different way.
It's just that we can put one in there.
Yeah.
Or we can do it, whatever.
Yeah, we'll look into that.
Definitely, definitely.
Is that something the board would like to, regarding that plaque?
Oh, definitely.
Over there?
Yeah.
Definitely.
We're good with that?
Please.
Okay. The second,
It should be on the wall.
Yeah,
for the people somehow.
I think
Yes.
we'll discuss maybe getting him posted up at the school and even bringing that back as a yearly thing.
so almost like a career type of honorary wall,
Mhm.
significant, create some criteria for.
Yeah. Yeah, we're working on that.
So,
Could we have the name of the person we?
oh, Claire,
Is it
Dr.
down there?
Clarence.
That's right, Dr. Clarence J. Dockweiler. Yes. Tri-Creek School Corporation Board of School Trustees, Tri-Creek Proud Award. Dr. Clarence J. Dockweiler, 1950 alumnus of Lowell Senior High School, Lowell, Indiana, accomplished educator, author, and researcher in recognition for a lifetime of distinguished achievement in the field of education.
So the second thing I would like to report out, if you go to our district website, under the About, to the far right here, is a staff recognition link. And we had placed this in our district newsletter a week ago, and I know Ms. Stoll, principal of Lake Prairie, published it in her staff newsletter. And we actually had someone that went on, clicked on this link here, staff recognition form, talked about what we're looking to do to accomplish as a result of this staff recognition program, answer a few questions, and hit submit. So we had our first recognition today. It was an ambush recognition, and so I had the privilege to go to Lake Prairie and conspired with Mrs. Stoll, who then went and kidnapped 2 instructional assistants from 5th grade room. And, pardon me?
First grade room.
What did I say?
5th grade.
First grade room.
First grade. 5th grade.
We practiced a little chant, and we then entered the classroom, and we were able to recognize Sarah Fournette. And the recognition says, Sarah is constantly taking initiative and helping students with any free opportunity she gets. She is never not helping a student. She is a huge team player, covering and filling in for others when needed, usually at the drop of a hat. I am so thankful for her and her help this school year. The kids and I are lucky to have her, and this was written by one of her colleagues. So we were able to present that to her, and then the whole classroom of kids got to give her 3 cheers. And so I'll just pass around this kind of sample of what we presented to her. And then the final component of this, going back to our district website, is as we do these throughout the year, we will continually update and add to this. And actually the mother of our honoree this morning is on our audience today. So just wanted to update you on the staff appreciation program, and got off to a great start. And thank you, Mrs. Stoll, for helping be a part of the initiation. And I'll give a special shout out to Mrs. Dam there, because she is the idea that sparked this process.
Thanks for doing it.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Be a good thing. So that's all I have to report.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Love seeing that. Board member report.
Well, I don't normally dress like Harry Potter
Yeah, right.
when I come to the board meetings, but I came here straight from Track or Treat, which is at the high school. I didn't bring any candy. That was my bad. The kids took it all, and they were ready to do candy trades. Yeah, it was fun. Lots of interaction. There was hundreds of people there. It was crazy, but the kids walk around the building and collect candy from all the different sports organizations and clubs. So football, cheerleading, band, L Club, junior L Club from the middle school. They're all there. Everyone's dressed up. All the students are dressed up. Parents dress up. Kids that trick or treat dress up. And there was businesses there this year, and community organizations. So that was really neat. And there's music playing, and it's just a really fun event. And the kids really enjoy it. And I think this year the money went to community service outreach.
Yeah, I think Special Olympics may have been a part of that as well.
So, yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Anybody else? All right, moving on. Number 1, approve the minutes of the meeting held on Thursday, October 13th, 2022.
Make a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor by saying aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Personnel, approve the personnel report dated Thursday, October 27th, 2022.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Business. Adopt the Adopt the resolution 2022-14 to transfer amounts from the education fund to the operations fund.
So this is part of the budget process for 2023. At the last board meeting on the 13th, we had our public hearing on the 2023 budget. And within that presentation, I presented the board with this same transfer that we had the previous year, which is $1,535,000 from the education fund to the operations fund. So money flows from the state. We get our per student money. It comes into the education fund. By code, every dollar has to sit at one, it has to make a stop into that education fund. From there, the board can pass a resolution to transfer a portion of that over to our operations fund. Our education fund pays for people and instructional needs, things that touch the classroom closest. So it'll be your teachers, it'll be your classroom aides, it'll be instructional materials, anything of that nature. But then over in your operations fund, you have your custodial, you have anything from transportation to bus replacement. You have your central office folks that don't do the classroom. Kevin does classroom, I don't, but I provide for the classroom, but I'm in the operations fund. So superintendent, business manager, the business office staff, we're all in the operations fund. So in order to support some of those things that are not covered by our taxpayer money that all goes into the operations fund, we make a transfer from that education to the operations. School districts, like I reported in Lake County, are struggling to meet the benchmark of 15%, not more than 15% transfer from one fund to the other. And that's because in certain districts or other districts north of us, they don't have a complete tax roll. We have a nearly complete tax roll. People pay their taxes here, and I'm thankful for it. 98 to 99%, where a lot of other districts just to the north of us are receiving less than that, about 75%. So we don't have to transfer 15%. We're not struggling to meet that 15% mark. This, what I'm presenting here, is about a 7% transfer. There's 2 school districts in Lake County that actually are less than that 15% or not right at the 15% mark. It's us and Lake Central due to our taxpayer collection. So before you is about a 7% transfer. This can be reviewed throughout the school year. If I see this is too much or too little, I can bring another resolution to you and make a change otherwise. But before you is exactly what we did last year.
Hey, you want to go ahead and just go through the next few?
Sounds good. And we've got our capital projects fund plan in front of you and your bus replacement plan. Capital projects fund plan was presented as well. It had a few items on there we have to list that are purchased, that might be purchased over the next couple of years over the $10,000 mark. Our capital project fund funds all our building repairs and all of our, again, some personnel, our transportation folks are in the operations fund as well. But the capital projects plan has minimal things that we'll purchase over the $10,000 mark. I've got some technology possible purchases, and we discussed a couple custodial things, writing, what do they call floor scrubbers, writing floor scrubbers and stuff like that, you know. So that's on your capital projects plan. On your bus replacement plan that was presented, it was 5 buses, which we pretty much do every year. The bus replacement plan showed a higher than normal per bus cost because things cost more now. Last year, our $135,000 buses are now $160,000. Quite a jump. So that's in your capital projects plan. And then your last resolution here is the budget form 4. The board adopts this. It lists your adopted budget, your adopted tax levy, and adopted tax rates as presented on the 13th. These are the worst case maximum amounts. We always advertise high just in case you need that, but I anticipate them coming in much lower. So it's a total adopted budget for all 4 funds, your debt service, school pension, education, and operations,
in the amount of $48,279,892. We're asking for an adopted tax levy maximum of $19,995,379, an adopted tax rate maximum of 1.2118, $1.22, let's say right there. It will actually come in more at that $5 mark that we showed up on the board. But we always advertise our maximum. So those are the three resolutions. Any questions or anything?
No. All righty.
Make a motion to adopt resolutions 2214, 2215, 2216, 2217 as listed.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign.
Good timing.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
All right. Consent items. Yep, I'm gonna read them all through. Number one, accept a donation from the Lowell Zeta Chi chapter of the Tri Kappa Lowell, Indiana, in the amount of $200 to help fund the Lowell Middle School choir and band programs. Number two, accept a donation from the Lowell Zeta Chi chapter of Tri Kappa Lowell, Indiana, in the amount of $400 to help fund the Lowell High School choir, $100, and the band $100 programs, and academic teams $200. Number three, accept a donation from the Lowell Athletic Booster Club in the amount of $400 to help fund the Lowell High School girls soccer program, and $1,449 to help fund the Lowell High School volleyball program. Number four, accept a donation from the Lowell Athletic Booster Club in the amount of $8,952.25 to help fund the Lowell High School Live, Love, Give Scholarship. Number five, accept the donation from the Lake Prairie Elementary School PTO in the amount of $668.10 to help fund the kindergarten study trip. Number six, accept a donation from the Lake Prairie Elementary School PTO in the amount of $207.90 to help fund the grade 3 study trip. Number seven, accept a donation from the Lake Prairie Elementary School PTO in the amount of $138.60 to help fund the 4th grade study trip. Number eight, accept a donation from the Lake Prairie Elementary School PTO in the amount of $6.30 to help fund the grade 5 study trip.
I'll make the motion.
Actually, got one here. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Alrighty. Public comment not related. Aaron? Good?
I'll see my time and thank you for the opportunity.
All right, thank you. All right, other information. Fall break is scheduled for Monday, October 31st and Tuesday, November 1st. Number two, the Tri-Creek School Trustees has scheduled a workshop for Wednesday, November 2nd at 5:30 at the Lowell Middle School Media Center to discuss and facilitate physical planning. Number three, a special meeting of the Tri-Creek School Board Trustees is scheduled for Wednesday, November 9th at 7 p.m. at the Lowell Middle School LGI room to hold the first public hearing for the preliminary determination. Number four, the next scheduled meeting for the school board is November 10th at 7 p.m. Anything else?
Yeah.
All right. Meeting adjourned. Thank you. Thank you all for coming.